Welcome to Bean to Barstool Bite Sized, where we spend about 5 minutes with some of our favorite people from craft beer and craft chocolate. Today we hear from Emily Stone, founder and CEO of Uncommon Cacao, one of the leading companies providing ethically and traceably sourced cacao for bean to bar chocolate makers. Emily talks about the process of beginning a relationship with a new partner at origin and her desire for transparency in cacao sourcing to be a two-way street between farmers and makers.
For us, the process of onboarding a new supplier or a new partner usually starts with the cacao itself, like with a sample. We want to evaluate the bean. And then once we're, all on board that this is something delicious, something that we think, chocolate makers will really enjoy, our initial onboarding around the ethical standards starts. And so we have a supplier scorecard, which has 55 indicators across social, environmental, governance, management factors, looking at both sort of positive screens and negative screens related to risk. So that's sort of the initial conversation. And that enables us to really dive into, okay, how are these issues being managed? That's then followed by a field visit. So we will visit in person. We'll do sort of a field check on a lot of the different indicators and questions that are part of our scorecard. And then once we really feel like we've sort of gotten to know the partner, gotten to know the growers as well, we'll always do grower interviews and make sure that we're really listening to the actual producers themselves and not just the exporter or whoever the centralized fermentation partner might be. Then we start sort of our then ongoing process. So there's a supplier code of conduct that all of our partners have to sign, which covers labor standards, which covers our traceability and transparency requirements, which are probably the most stringent and sort of demanding of any cacao trader in our industry, and cacao production requirements around quality. And then, we do a lot of annual transparency reporting as well. So each year we do essentially a revisiting of what's in the supplier scorecard and a deep dive into the specific numbers on producers from each year. So we look at everything from, how labor standards are being trained on and managed within each organization. We look at the participation of women in that value chain at the origin. We look at the farm gate price and if there's an association price, what that was, the FOB price. We look at sales per producer so that we could actually calculate out annual revenue for producers. We do a huge amount of work to make sure that by the time cacao, lands in the warehouse imported by Uncommon Cacao, chocolate makers can buy that cacao fully knowing that, we have vetted the producers and the partner and that they're fully in line with Uncommon's values and ethical sourcing standards. That said, I really disagree with the generally promoted concept that producers are essentially guilty until proven innocent, that, we have all these global north standards and demands that we insist producers comply with. Our goal with transparency reporting and with the vetting that we do with the supplier scorecard is really to understand our partners and their operations and their challenges as best as possible so that we can be the best partner that we can be to them. Of course, we want to make sure that there are no violations of human rights issues. There are no abuses of individuals in any way at that partner. But I do think it's just, we've gotten pushback actually recently on our transparency report data collection process this year. Where's this information from the chocolate makers? Why don't we know how much chocolate they're selling and how much money they're making? And so I don't disagree with that pushback. I think transparency is amazing at how it can create these conversations and really enable dialogue on important issues. And, through our transparency report, and we certainly have done that in our industry, but I do think there's a lot more room to grow in terms of what real two-way transparency reporting could look like from chocolate makers in the industry, also back towards growers and producers. Our reporting is demanding. Along with the transparency reporting information each year, our partners have to submit farmer receipts, so proof of farm gate price, producer list, full traceability documentation, basically from the farm through the fermentation drying facility into export lots. Much of this is still just being done by hand, and it's a huge lift for all of our partners and for us every year. But we do it because, again, Uncommon Cacao exists to, create systems change in our industry and demonstrate that it's possible to pay producers a higher price for higher quality and really build a new system of valuing and trading cacao that's based on quality and based on flavor. For us to do that in a way that has integrity and is fully in line with our value of accountability, the transparency reporting is just absolutely critical. Every single bean that a chocolate maker uses in their factory, sourced from us, has been connected to so many different humans and individuals across the value chain, from the grower who picked the pod, scooped out the beans with his hand or her hand, put it in a bag or a bucket, then dropped it off at the fermentation facility. And then there were, fermentation and drying teams that very carefully and intentionally, manage the fermentation and drying process, and then bean sorters and selectors, administrative teams, and then warehouse teams and Uncommon Cacao. Like, there are just so many different people involved in this value chain, and Uncommon has the immense privilege and responsibility of sharing that work and representing that work, to chocolate makers and to the market. There's so much work, there's so much love, and so much intention that has gone into crafting that bean or that nib to taste and behave just the way that it does. This is how we build a real change in the cacao industry and in the chocolate industry, is by helping people fall in love with the beauty of chocolate and the beauty of cacao, and thus having the desire to dive deeper, the interest in learning more, that drive for connection to where this product really comes from.
You can find out more about Uncommon Cacao on uncommoncacao.com and on social media. I'll link to those in the show notes. My entire conversation with Emily was very interesting, so listen to the longer interview for more insights. I'll share that in the show notes as well. The music today was by my dear friend Anna P.S. My name is David Nilsson. Thanks for listening to Bean to Barstool Bite Sized.